What we do here is go back. What we do here is go back.
And hopefully we are live. Possibly. Is everything working? I hope so. Colours look really nice on the screen. It doesn't reflect real life at all. Hi, Mike here, Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. It is Saturday the 1st of June 2024. And hopefully you can all hear me and or see me. If you could kindly let me know in the chat, that would be very much appreciated if you could do so. Let's wait and see while we're doing that. Well, I would say hello to people, but I don't know if you're actually able to hear and see me. Charles Ballard says, so far so good. Good. All okay here, Mike. Excellent. Sounds looks good, says Skystalker. Thank you very much. Let's try the overhead camera. Make sure that's all working. Yeah, that looks fine. No problems there. The intro we know works. Stream desktop, we know that probably works. Although I haven't set that up yet, so let's see if that works. No, that doesn't work. So we want display capture and we want Acer monitor. And there we go. That is fantastic. So hopefully that is working. Still got a black screen on there. Let's not worry about that too much. So tonight we are streaming for the first time using Nvidia's AV1 encoder on our RTX 4070 Super, which has now made its way into the streaming PC. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it's going to be reliable, and hopefully the image quality is hopefully pretty good. I've kept the bitrate exactly the same, so we're still using 500 kilobytes or 5 megabytes for upload, which is what we've had previously. But hopefully everything is all good. We shall see. Show us your pretty face, Mike. If I had one, I would. Oh, you're on desktop mode. Sorry, my bad. That's what we meant. So let's go. Main camera. There we go. Sorry about that. I'm a rookie. What can I say? Only been doing this a few years. You'd think it would be better by now. It's actually getting quite warm in here today. It's only 23 degrees, 50% humidity, but it feels quite humid and a little bit muggy today. I've got the window open, so do apologise for any external noises such as birds and whatever. Hopefully we're all good. And yeah, everything seems to be working. Excellent stuff. Rick says AV1, go for it. Yeah, hopefully it's going to be okay. I don't know, well, I've not been able to watch a stream back of what I've done with AV1. Normally I stream with either a high efficiency video codec or H.265. Generally recently been doing H.264 just because that was what OBS wanted to use for some reason, but it gave me the option, so I thought, hey, what the hell? Let's try it, see what it's like. So tonight's stream got a few, well, there's actually quite a lot to talk about. Some of it good, some of it not so good, some of it actually very good. Bought some peripherals this week, which we've got on the desk at the moment. Oh, there's a cat hair on that one. That'll never do. So done a little bit of shopping. For myself actually, this is, well, I will do a review on it anyway, but I wanted a new keyboard. Those of you that watch the channel on a regular basis will know that keyboards are the one thing which I really struggle with, trying to find a keyboard which is kind of just perfect for me. And I've sat in front of the computer for a ridiculously long time, every single day pretty much, other than the Sunday where I spend probably about half the time. But being on a computer, your main input is your keyboard. Secondary, obviously, or primary, depending on how you look at it, is your mouse as well. So I've treated myself to a new keyboard and mouse, and hopefully that is all going to be great and good. And we'll go through those a little bit later. I will say, before the kind of potential rush gets in, if you're looking for a mouse, this is the one that I've actually bought. This is the ASUS ROG Strix Impact 3 wireless. Now I've put a link in the video description. The links are affiliated, so we do get a small kickback from links. But this is a genuine misprice, which seems to work. So this normally retails somewhere in the region of about £80 to £100, depending on where you're shopping. At the moment, on the amazon.co.uk link that is in the video description, you can pick this up for £46.97. And I think this is an absolutely phenomenal deal. At £80, it's a great mouse. At under £50, it's unbeatable. It genuinely is. So if you want a mouse which has got 36,000 DPI, loads and loads of different settings on there that you can change, battery powered, you can use it with Wi-Fi 2.4 gigahertz with its own dongle. You can also use it with Bluetooth. It's got angle, angle tracking or angle adjustment. You've also got lift-off distance changing. You can change the DPI settings, all that kind of usual stuff that you expect. You can customize all the buttons to your heart's content. And obviously it's an ASUS mouse, so warranty-wise, you probably best not going down that route. But in terms of build quality, this thing is freaking awesome. And the main party trick of this thing, well, actually there's two party tricks, one of which is the battery life. The battery life is just ridiculous. It uses a single battery, which you do have to replace every now and then, rechargeables or AAAs, AA's, whatever you want to use. But so far, I've been using this since it arrived. I ordered it on Sunday, it arrived on Monday. I've been using it all week, all day, every day, and the battery still says 100%. So the battery life, if you've got any sort of form of battery anxiety, don't worry. This battery is supposed to last up to a month or so with heavy use, possibly 3 to 4 months with light use. So it's absolutely crazy, insane battery life. But that isn't its only party trick. The other party trick is the fact that you can actually swap out the switches. So if you're left and right mouse button clicks, you can actually take the switches out. This has got ASUS's own proprietary hot swap switch kind of bays or caddies or holders. So very easy, 2 screws, take the lid off, and you can replace the switches. So if you don't like the included switches, which I think you probably will, but if you want to try other ones, maybe some KM8s, whatever you want to put in there, you can do that and swap them out very, very easily. And switches are really inexpensive, so you can tailor the mouse to fit exactly how you want it to be and to sound exactly how you want it to be, which is absolutely brilliant. Sorry? Wing. Is it a 1200 DPI model? No, it's 36,000 DPI. And it's the sensor in there is the aim point sensor from ASUS, the ROG aim point sensor, which actually is a kind of collaboration with Pixar. So it's using the PMW3399 sensor, and it's been modified slightly for ASUS for this specific mouse. So sensor wise, absolutely amazing, extremely high DPI if you want it, or low if you want it. The choice is yours. You can swap it all, change it out. It's brilliant. We'll take a real close look at that a little bit later on in the stream, so you can see what's about. But if you're into one, you want one, get it while you can, because I'm sure they're going to sell out. We've got a super chat come in there from Ugly Bob. Thank you very much, Ugly Bob. And what's he saying? Hey, won't be on for a few weeks because I'm traveling, so you kids play nice and I'll see you soon. Bob, have some fantastic travels and journeys. Have a great time, top up your tan, and we'll be here waiting for you when you get back. And to follow up with that, Ugly Bob is also gifted 5 Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How-To memberships. So Cav's going to have to get up off the chair again. So Peter Stiff has been gifted a membership by Ugly Bob. Neil Beaumont also gifted a membership by Ugly Bob. Yogi's World also gifted. Neil Walker and Robbie GZA was also gifted. Fantastic. Thank you very much. And there's another one, Cav. There's another super chat from Dave Aiken. £2 super chat. It says, Hola amigos. Thank you, Dave. Much appreciated. There's a £2 super chat from Dave. Mark Berry says, I need a new mouse to go with the Black Widow keyboard. If you've got the Black Widow keyboard, that's the Razer Black Widow, yeah? If you've got that, I would possibly consider, what was the one I had? The Razer Viper Ultimate, I think it is. That's a really nice mouse. Some don't like the buttons on the front because they're a little bit on the clicky side. But overall, in terms of a mouse, and if you want to fit into that ecosystem, very nice indeed. Nick Barnes says, I need a mouse to keep Molly or Cat busy. I've got a few up here. I could send you one. So anyway, there you go. So yeah, mouse-wise, check out the link. £46.97 currently from Amazon.co.uk. And yeah, it's an absolute belter, it really is. Looking on the bottom, you've got all the controls there. So if you don't want to install Armoury Crate, which some people might not want to, if you're maybe into a different ecosystem, all of the controls such as lift-off distance, DPI scaling, lift-off distance, scrolling. Basically, most of the stuff you can control on here using the hotkeys. So press a button on the bottom, press one on the side, and you can change through various settings. That, I can't remember them all, so you might need to pay some attention to the owner's manual, but certainly you can do. But yeah, it is a great mouse, and also very, very lightweight. So without the receiver and the battery, you're looking at 57 grams, I think it is, 58 grams. So basically very, very light. With the battery included, if you go with a AAA, adds on about 7 grams. If you add on a AA, adds on about 8 to 10 grams, depending on the battery, the chemistry inside it, that sort of stuff. But still less than 70 grams overall with the battery in, and the battery's going to last absolutely forever. So very, very highly recommended. Been using that all week, and actually it has improved my gameplay. Been playing some CSGO on the evening after I've done all the video work, and CSGO normally, well, the new CS2 I suppose I should call it, normally when I'm playing that, I'm not the greatest and my reaction times aren't stellar, let's face it. So generally I'm in the bottom 2 or 3 on any round. But after switching to this mouse and also the RG Scope 2 keyboard, which is this one, I've found myself actually nestling towards the middle, towards actually the top in some rounds now. So this has actually had a tangible effect in my gameplay and has actually made me a better gamer. Who'd have thought it? Spending money on products would make you a better gamer. What a fantastic advert that could be. Anyway, so yeah, this is also very, very nice. We'll talk about it a little bit later on. We'll also be talking about, obviously, we've got Computex coming up, which is actually quite exciting this year because we've got new processors from AMD. So we've got the new 9000 series, which aren't going to be groundbreaking, I don't think, in terms of actual performance, but they are going to be an uptick in terms of the IPC performance, looking towards 15 to 20%, which is a decent uptick. And also they've managed to squeeze a little bit more frequency out of them. So we're looking at around about 100 megahertz boost per CPU. So if you look at something like the 7700X against the 9700X, you're looking around about 100 megahertz faster, which doesn't seem a lot, but 100 megahertz faster, giving you 15 to 20% IPC improvement. But best of all, they've dropped the wattages down. So the 7700X, you're looking at 105 watts TDP, whereas the new 9700X, which is its effective replacement, is down to only 65 watts. So potentially they've done some tweaking there. They've made some modifications to the silicon. Hopefully they've changed the substrate actually between the heat shield and the processor making that work a little bit more efficiently so we don't see those crazy high temps. But realistically, with a 65 watt TDP, we shouldn't be seeing those kind of temperatures anyway. So I think this is a step in the right direction. Genuinely excited to see what is announced from AMD. We've got the Nvidia announcement tomorrow. That is, I think, 11:30 tomorrow UK time. So yeah, see what Nvidia are saying. I'm not sure whether there's going to be any dramatic announcements. Possibly they might make a mention of the new 5000 series. Honestly, it's going to be speculation. There's been a few leaks recently about potential specifications for the 5090, which is going to be possibly a dual slot card, possibly also supporting a 448-bit wide bus, which is nice, and also supporting, I think it was 28 gigabytes of RAM, which is well, it's definitely an uptick because we had 24 gigabytes previously, so 28 gigabytes is better. We were hoping to see a 512-bit wide bus with maybe, just maybe, 32 gigs of RAM on the 5090, but it does seem that the 5090 is going to be the 102 die rather than being the 101 or 100. So potentially there is still room for them to squeeze in a 5090 Ti or a 5090 Super or a 5090 Super Ti, whichever they choose to do. So there's definitely some interesting stuff to come out. Also new AMD motherboards as well. So we're looking at a whole new range of motherboards from AMD, the 800 series. So you're looking at a new 840 chipset, which replaces the old 620, but slightly better. It allows a little bit of overclocking, I believe. And also there's going to be an 860, or is an 850? Not too sure. But anyway, looks like the chipsets are changing, numbers are changing, specs are changing, and essentially they're going to be adding on multiple chipsets. So previously, if you had like a 650, it was a single chipset. If you had a 650E, it was two chipsets. So it looks like the 650E is going to be kind of like the entry level now for the 800 series for the mid-range, which potentially is a really cool thing to see happen. Let me brain catch up a minute.
Rick H.
Rick H.
It's only a statement, it's not.
Oh, Rick H made a statement. Okay.
Just for your brain.
Rick H says, my 12th gen Celeron G6900 uses 46 watts maximum and idles around 2 or 3 watts. That's awesome. I've actually been playing around with my own system this week. This is on a completely different tangent altogether. Let's clear off that chat there. I've upgraded recently, some of you may know, to a new ASUS motherboard and graphics card for my PC, my video editing PC, hence the ASUS peripherals, because let's be fair, I am a bit of a tart when it comes to having all the stuff matching all together. I do like it. I like the ecosystem thing. People do. You see people buying all the Corsair stuff, MSI stuff, Gigabyte stuff, whatever it is. I think ASUS have actually got a pretty cohesive set of stuff. It is a little bit on the pricey side, some of it, although clearly not the mouse. That was a bargain. But it's actually nice to have it all in an ecosystem. But I have been having some weird problems with a very odd kind of micro stutter. Not so much in games, or at least possibly it is, but I don't notice it, but actually in the Windows desktop, where I'll be just doing anything at all, maybe watching a video, and it'll just freeze for a brief second, less than a second, and then it'll resume. And I found the mouse doing it as well, but I thought it was the wireless mouse, but it isn't. I've tried other mice and it does it exactly the same. So I've been looking into that, and it appears that it could be down to the Intel speed shift technology. There's two. There's speed step and basically there's two technologies, one of which relies on Windows to tell the processor what it wants it to do. The other one is hardware one, and from what I can tell, with the latest Intel updates for BIOS for motherboard manufacturers, the BIOS updates to give the Intel default settings, they've actually seemed to turned on both of those. So my theory is that the operating system and the hardware in the processor itself, they're kind of fighting each other, and that is causing a stutter. At least that is my thoughts on it. I've yet to do some testing. I've literally, just before we started the stream, been tinkering around with that to see what is going on. I've been trying various things. It's not like a deal breaker or a kind of an absolute annoyance, but it's one of those things which it shouldn't do it. So trying to find out what's been going on there. So yeah, relatively interesting stuff. What else? Let's have a look through some of your chats, see what you guys have been thinking. Don't forget as well, there is a poll on tonight's stream. So are you actually waiting at the moment? You've got some money possibly burning a hole in your pocket or potentially burning a hole in your digital wallet. Are you looking to buy a component at the moment, or are you looking to buy any PC hardware at all? Maybe a monitor, maybe a motherboard, CPU, peripherals, anything PC related. Because there is Computex coming up. So obviously at the moment, this last week and probably this week coming, and potentially the following weeks, depending on the release cycle, it's going to be a thing where if there's some really good stuff at Computex, it's going to be like, well, I'm not going to buy what's on the shelves now because there's the next best thing is going to be due out shortly. So it's going to be interesting to see how that affects the kind of PC market, the PC economy, and also, which potentially could affect it as well, is the fact that the tariffs are going to go back on again over from the US import tariffs. I think it's roughly 25% tariff on Chinese imported goods. Not all goods, there are some which are going to be excluded, but it's going to be one of those things. I think motherboards, cases, processors, I think are on it. I could be wrong, I need to look into it further, but regardless of what is on it, it's going to have a knock-on effect at some point. I think cases are going to be one which gets hit, and also, to make things even worse, there is a shipping container shortage. Heard of that one before? Yeah, haven't we all? So when we had all the problems a couple of years back where there was shipping shortages, not enough stock, there was no containers and shipping prices went through the roof. We also had the import tariffs. We went through some pretty tough times with PC components and they got quite expensive. So hopefully we're not going there. So the question I guess really I'm asking is, are you thinking, right, buy something now in the next 2 weeks before the tariffs start to really kick in and prices start ramping up? Or do you play it slightly safe, keep the money in your pocket and wait and see what happens, see what pans out, see if it does have a knock-on effect? I'm guessing if it does have an effect, it's going to be a drawn-out process. In theory, in the perfect world, you would imagine that there's most manufacturers and suppliers, they've got stock. Warehouses have got a reasonable inventory, in which case you shouldn't see the increase of prices until they have to replenish that stock. But as we all know, most retailers, distributors and wholesalers don't always play that game, much like fuel costs. So when the cost of raw crude oil goes down, do we see a reflection in the price of petrol? Generally, it's a very staggered thing and they try to make as much money as they can going forward. So I'm expecting prices to be starting increasing possibly the beginning of this month. We've already seen it with memory. We've already seen it with M.2 storage. That is just a couple of the things which have started increasing in prices. Cases, as we all know, they've been ramping up in price for the last year or so. They've got to a point where they are actually becoming relatively expensive, even for some of the more budget-minded cases. So, again, what are your thoughts? Are you not interested at all? If so, let us know in the poll at the top there. Interaction is good. Lets me know what you guys are thinking, and also kind of gives me a little bit of a reality check, because I'm kind of a little bit concerned about what could happen in the next few months if the tariffs do affect things. Prices rocketing. Obviously, for most people, incomes aren't increasing that rapidly. We're still seeing the effects of inflation, although they say we're not, but we definitely are. My grocery shopping is still very expensive comparatively from what it was a year, 2 years ago. So there are a lot of things which are contributing to really kind of stifling and restricting the growth in the PC market, which is actually a real shame. So let us know what you think about it in the comments. And I'll quickly read some of those comments. And actually, let's have a quick look at the poll, see where we're at the moment. So let's put that onto Stream Desktop. So as you can see from the poll at the moment, currently, are you waiting? So 31% of you are waiting for Computex to see what happens next. 35% of you are not waiting, so pretty even split there. 16% of you not buying, and another 17% of you are not interested at the moment. So actually, it's a pretty... If you take into not buying, not interested, which basically equates to the same thing really, that's roughly 30%. So yeah, very similar. So there's not really one thing which is out in front at the moment. I would say, if anything, the people that are not buying probably has a slight edge at the moment at 36%. But we'll carry on with the poll and see how that turns out a little bit later. So let's say hello to some of you in the chat. So we've got a Rally, he got in first today, well done. Rampage Pro X says hello all. Atomic Sub also says hello. Who else we got? That was me talking. I've got the links working now, so actually while I'm doing that, let's chuck a couple of links in. So if you want to buy anything, desk pads, such as this one that we've got on the desk here, there's another sale on at Technically Stable, even better pricing, I believe. I do need to double check that. I think they said there's another 10% off at the moment, so if you're thinking about getting a custom mat, head over to technicallystable.com, make one of your own, or just use our design. The choice is entirely up to you, but you get a decent price on that. Joe G is in the chat as well. On the subject of the title of this video, the GPU and motherboard tariffs were waived for 1 year to give companies time to move out of China. Is that true? I didn't realise that was the case. No pun intended there. I'm not entirely sure if that is right or not, because I've heard conflicting reports that GPUs specifically and motherboards would be affected. Whether or not that is going to be directly because of everybody jumping on the whole tariff thing and charging more, I don't know. We'll see. But that's an interesting point of view. Giving them 1 year to move out of China. See, most companies, if they're going to make a move, will take them more than a year to move their infrastructure out of China. And also, this is a slightly political aspect of it. A lot of people have mentioned as well, I've seen this in various chats, saying about, well, most of the stuff comes from Taiwan. The Taiwan-China thing is a very kind of, well, it's open for debate, obviously. There are a lot of companies, a lot of countries in the world that don't recognise Taiwan as an individual entity, and they think of it as an annexation of China, as do China, in fact. Or at least that appears to be the case. We've also seen the escalation of warships and other kind of activities going on in China and around that area, around getting near to Taiwan. So that is very much one of those things which is in flux, depending on how people interpret Taiwan as being its own separate entity or being part of China. No doubt we will find out. Joe G says, I was going to buy a bunch of GPUs for PC flips, but now I can wait. I think selling PCs at the moment is, unless you're selling them for a ridiculously cheap price, I think it's quite challenging, especially if you're looking to make any profit whatsoever, because people just don't really understand what a PC costs to build these days, especially a decent one or a nice one. You can put together any old sack of nuts for a couple of £100, but it's a sack of nuts. Nick Byron says, Mike and Gav, trust you are both well. Yeah, not too bad. Hopefully you are also. It's yeah, it's been, today's weather here has been a little bit weird. It started off in, oh crap, sorry.
I'm sorry, I thought I was, because I was looking at my phone there, and I thought we were back at the beginning for some reason.
Yeah, sorry, it was my fault. Yeah, weather-wise here, it was supposed to be a nicer day today, and we've had a little bit of sunshine today, but the clouds have kicked in once again. They were, most of the day it's been kind of cloudy on and off. The temperature's risen very slightly, what we 16 degrees Celsius at the moment, so consider it's June, it is cold, but it's got a kind of slightly muggy feeling about it at the moment. It feels like there's going to be a rainstorm or something, although we had that last week, so that would spoil it. Nick Barnes says, Mark Barry just bought a 5700X3D for 130 quid from AliExpress. Use Toja's link from Discord bargains. Use PayPal for peace of mind. There is some cracking bargains. Now that's something else we could discuss actually, where AliExpress at the moment there is a sale on, in case you hadn't noticed, and there's various different discount codes for various stores. And there's some really good pricing. I looked today, 7800X3D, £240 shipped. That's incredible value for money. Absolutely incredible value for money. And that one there, the 5700X3D for 130 quid. Like, if you go to the UK stores at the moment, 130 quid basically gets you like a 5600X. Maybe if you're lucky, something a little bit better, but not an X3D version for sure. So if you don't mind taking a chance and having a slightly longer waiting time for shipping, AliExpress stuff at the moment, very good deals. And myself, Toad, Dave Aitken and others have all been posting deals. So if you want to join our Discord and check out some of those deals, links in the chat right now. It's also in the video description anyway, if you ever want it. So you can check that out and yeah, check out some of the pricing. There's really good pricing. It's a shame some of the motherboards aren't a little bit cheaper, because they would be very tempting. Although there are some Gigabyte B650M boards for about 85 quid. So if you are considering a little bit of an upgrade, get yourself on the AM5 bandwagon and get some pretty stoking deals. I saw yesterday a 7500F for 104 or 105 pounds. That's just crazy. 7500F is a great little processor. Anyway, moving on. Mark Berry says, I got up at 4:30 AM as son is racing the school's electric car tomorrow at Castle Combe. Ah, very nice. Castle Combe.
Not far.
Not far from us, yeah. Nick Barnes says, wow, that's brilliant. Have they built it from scratch like the old BP challenge? The BP Build a Car challenge, I actually was involved with that back in 88, 89 and 90. And there was a BP car that we built called the Strange Rover, which had a mini engine in the front, transverse gearbox and all that. And yeah, the Strange Rover won the BP Build a Car challenge from Down End School. That was pretty cool. We like that. We also built a go-kart as well. That was rubbish. We split the axle. It was too fast. Ah, dear. Wayne Taylor says, what do you mean waiting to buy after Computex? I'm here in Taipei for Computex. Well, that and to visit brother's mother-in-law and vacation while attending in Tuesday for Computex. Nice one, Wayne. Grab some goodies while you're over there.
Wayne says it starts tonight. One of them.
Yeah, the Nvidia one I think is, well, yeah, it's kind of tonight, but for us here in the UK, that's going to be Sunday, so it's Sunday morning, like 11:30, because of the time zone. Wayne says it's raining like shit at the moment at 3:10 AM. Wow. Where else we? Roderick Kennedy says, hey all, hope you're all well. Yes, not too bad at all. John David Sullivan's also with us. Family Plans is with us. Wayne Taylor, Rick Welly Bob. Charles Ballard has arrived. Skystalker's in the house also. Old Man Withers. Michael Ellingham. Firestorm. I'm probably missing out people. I don't apologise. I do apologise. I'm joking. Ashley Strachan. Hey all, work done. Dog walking, including pub stop off, of course. Pizza done. Jack Daniels at home in the garden. Lovely. The Ordinary Dude says sound is a little low. Is it? Is it a little bit low? That was a long time ago, yeah.
Might still be.
Let's have a look. Dutch Jan's with us. I'll see. Goede avond, liederen. I tried. Peter Stiff says, good evening, everybody. How are you, Peter? So have a look through the chat, see if there's anything interesting there. AV1. Ashley says, chilly outside now that the big yellow thing is gone. Yeah, it's properly gone now. There's some.
We only have a white sun here.
Yeah, our sun has changed colour. It's more of a white sun now. Not one of those nice yellow warm suns. It's just a white
Like an
LED. Yeah, in the sky. I wonder if they've actually done that. I wonder if they've actually swapped out the hollow sun in the dome. They've taken away the tungsten bulb which was in it, and now they've put in a LED bulb. You never know. Rick says, make sure it's Nvidia AV1, not CPU. I think I've done that. Ladios says, Mike, I'm waiting to see Be Quiet's new case at Computex. I think, yeah, that would... there's going to be hopefully some new cases. I'm hoping that Antec do make a kind of a proper full-on recovery. It does seem they're heading in that direction. I think probably a lot of us, especially if you're of a similar age range, so if you're anywhere between kind of 30 to 60 maybe, or possibly even older, you'll probably have at some point owned an Antec case. And in the very early days of computing, or at least mainstream computing, the early 2000s, late 90s, the Antec cases were probably the most popular ones on the market. Things like the Lamboy, Super Lamboy 2, the P series cases, the P160, the P180, I think there's a P200 as well, possibly. So yeah, the performance range of cases, but the performance P160 I think was the first one which was a full aluminium case. And that was great. I had one of those and had a little LCD readout with USB ports you could angle towards you. Great case, love that case, really good, and very lightweight because it was aluminium. Loads of room, decent cooling, it was all good. It was very, very nice, like that. And then of course, after that, went a little bit quieter. Then Antec came out with the 900, and I think pretty much most people have seen or wanted the Antec 900. That was an absolutely cracking case. Like I've said previously, at one point here, I think we had 4 or 5 of them. Because Kath had one, I had one, George had one, there was one in the front room as a media centre. I think there was another one that I painted as well. So we had 4 or 5 Antec 900 cases. They were just great, they really were. Nick Barnes says 50 quid and need to replace the battery.
You're so way behind.
I know, that is way behind, but there is a good reason for that. It's for weight saving. And actually, I prefer it because my other mouse, which is up there, this one, the MSI one, this has got its own built-in battery, but it's not as powerful as a AA or AAA battery. So this will last, I can probably leave this about a week before it needs charging, which is still one of those things that if you kind of forget about it, it's a little bit annoying. But whereas with, like, and also I'd have to remember to put it on the charging dock and also turn it on or off to save the battery so it didn't extinguish itself overnight, that sort of thing. This thing's mad. Literally, you kind of just turn it on, put it into Wi-Fi mode, and just forget about it. Literally forget about it. It goes to sleep after 3 minutes. You can change that if you want to, longer or shorter. And to wake it up, you don't have to click it or do anything. Just any slight movement wakes it up. So it's just ready to go straight away. It is incredible. It actually is incredible. I'm very, very pleased with it. And I'll put that one back on charge and see what I think about it. Toad says, do ASUS give optical switches in that? No, they don't. I think the Impact 4 possibly might be, but the Impact 3 is limited to 3-pin switches, so that's all of the traditional non-optical switches on the market. Although it would be nice, I would like the option to put optical switches in. I do quite like optical switches. They are quite nice to use, but I do find that to be very good. Let's move forward. John David Sullivan says, I just grabbed myself a Peerless Assassin SE RGB, just waiting on my Antec C8. As we said, Antec are coming back. The Antec C8 is a cracking looking case. Potentially might try and get hold of one of those, or maybe the C3. Now actually, a very, very kind and generous person who watches the channel and is a member of the Mike's Unboxing family, Colin Hilton, has actually offered to basically sponsor a giveaway. And he suggested either a case that I wanted to review or some Corsair DDR5 RAM. So that's a similar sort of price as the C8. So potentially we might see about getting a C8 for review, sponsored by Colin, if he agrees, which possibly he will. Possibly he won't. We can find out. We can only ask. And then maybe we can do a giveaway for that as well. See how that goes. But that was the idea. Good old Colin. And hopefully if you're watching, hopefully you're having a good evening and resting. Zero Defects says, good evening all, how you doing? Robbie GZA says, hi Mike and chat, thank you so much for the membership, Ugly Bob. Good old Ugly Bob. Riley says, I find Razer mouse to be too light and not fitting into my palm enough. So far I prefer Logitech until I try other brands. Now, actually, I've got a couple of mice here from Dave Aitken, who dropped them over, and I still haven't got around to actually taking a look at them. And it's going to be an interesting one because they're at totally different ends of the spectrum. Just hide that. So at the more sort of entry level, we've got the Logitech G203 for me to take a look at and do a review on. Still sealed, not touched that one at all. Interested to see how that feels actually. It actually feels quite a bit heavy in the box, but we'll see. And also, he had a replacement for his existing mouse, which was this one. This is the Shroud. This is the, I don't even know what model this is actually. What is it? I'm not very well up on Logitech stuff, I'll be honest with you. So, Hero 25K sensor, 0 filtering, 0 smoothing, 0 acceleration, 75 grams. I've not seen this yet. I don't think I've took it out of the box, or did I? I think I might have taken it out of the box briefly to see how. It's quite an unusual shape. So it's quite a. Actually, it's not too bad. Compared with the ASUS, it's a little bit more of an angular shape, especially towards the ass end. Yes, Kath?
Season's got a question, but it's a bit off topic from mine.
Okay. I will have a look at that. Oh, that's got stuff on the bottom. Slides a little bit better. That's got bigger pads on the bottom. That's quite nice. Actually, I quite like that. I quite like the shape of that. I do have this. This is my grip generally, so I use my wedding ring finger for the back and forward buttons on the side because I'm left-handed, and I do like that the buttons are actually. Just checking before I say it. Yeah, they are the same both sides, so they're symmetrical buttons. That's the one thing I'm not entirely keen on with this one, because the buttons aren't entirely symmetrical. So for me being a lefty, I've got to maybe move my finger a little bit further forward. I feel very similar actually. Surprising. So the G303, that is Shroud Edition. Yeah, not bad. I'll have to have a deeper dive on that one and see what it's all about. Where am I going to put this? I'll put it back in the box actually. And I've got the G203. I've never used one of these, I think. I'm saying that quickly. I don't think I have. I'm not too sure what this feels like. I'm guessing this is just going to be a very traditional feeling mouse. Feels quite solid, quite nice weighty. Yeah, it's got quite a nice shape as well. Oh, very clicky. Yeah, that's actually surprised me actually. I didn't think it was going to feel quite as nice as that for something which is a relatively inexpensive mouse. You can hear it in the encoder. Got a little bit of a kind of cheap feel to it. Where's that? Yeah, you can hopefully you can notice the difference there. So yeah, we're having a little bit of a mouse-a-thon recently. Lots of mice reviews. I think actually it's going to be a weird one because of all the mice that we've got here, I'm going to guess that the cheapest one, the G203, is going to be the one that gets the most views. Probably by a landslide. Because it's cheap. And people like cheap. Skystalker says you can choose AA or AAA batteries for that mouse. Yes, you can. So just peel the back off. And in there is, at the moment, is a AAA battery. It comes with a little plastic enclosure. So it fits, so you can put whichever you want. I've gone with a AAA because it comes with them. It comes with a AAA lithium and also a AA lithium included straight away. Magnetic top as well. Comes with that in the box, so you can use those. I've got rechargeable AAAs, so I will be making use of those. Although, realistically, if they last as long as they think they're going to last, then I'll probably just use some alkaline batteries in there maybe. We will see. So plenty of meeting going on. Oh, I'm trying to use that one. That one's not connected. John David Sullivan says, I'm more of a Corsair mouse fan myself, just the software is ugh. I liked the, trying to think which one it was reviewed on the channel. Was it the 365? Not too sure. There was one we reviewed on the channel, which I actually quite liked, although it was a little bit harsh, the plastic, like the edges. Rick says I use a Logitech laptop mouse, small, takes one AA battery and lasts at least 6 to 12 months. Yeah, like this one, M220. Little tiny thing, come with the keyboard, silent touch one. And I've had the same battery in this thing now for God knows how long. Tough Enough says, I'll take 2 Dell. Uh-oh. Right. Apparently there's going to be an ad running shortly. I've accidentally switched it back to YouTube controlling the ads as an experiment to see if it affects viewership in terms of will they push the stream to more people if we allow them to run ads. So I do apologise if there's going to be ads. It says ads will run shortly for some viewers in 34 seconds. So let me know if you get an ad. Hopefully you won't.
I got one just now.
Oh, did you? William Bodie's in the house. Says Toad, to be weird fits Mub. It does. O'Reilly says Mike will have a deeper dive cupping the ass of a mouse. That's very true.
Did you do Oasis?
I'm still looking at Oasis. What do I do if my CPU fan isn't spinning? Well, first of all, you make sure that it's plugged into the CPU fan header and firmly seated in there. Make sure that it actually can spin. So put your fingers on the fan blade and just try and spin it, see if it will move. Could be that you've got something stuck in there, a little bit of debris. Or potentially you've got your fan CPU rotational speed too low. So if your CPU gets to a certain temperature, it will then normally ramp up. Maybe you've got that set a little bit low. Lots of possible problems. I would suggest, yeah, if you can't figure it out, post some pictures on our Discord and we'll try and help you out as best we can. Obviously, I'm doing a live stream, so I can't help you directly. But if there's any others that are in Discord at the moment that can help you out, then I would appreciate it. Oasis is using an Intel LGA 1700 CPU cooler. If it's the stock one, if you haven't removed the wire from around the edge where it's clipped on, it could be the wire is just touching against one of the fan blades and stopping it.
Jason's off.
Cheers, Jason. And Viale's with us. Says good evening, Mike, Kath, and all. Coca Bill says yes, Antec is nice. I agree. I actually miss having Antec in the market. I think it's one of those things where in the PC market, especially the case market, it's nice to see a lot of different brands and for them all to be successful. I don't want it to be just the Lian Li show or the Corsair show or the Thermaltake show or whatever it is. I think there's room for everybody, for all different price brackets and all different shapes and sizes. That is what makes building a PC so unique and so rewarding, that you can actually build a PC to how you want it to look, within reason, if you've got the money for it. Have I missed any? William Bode is sat at home at the moment in his shorts, 23.6 degrees with the windows open, and there is no wind. Pickle says, are all sellers legit on AliExpress? No, definitely not. But the good thing is with AliExpress, and also if you use PayPal, which I strongly suggest you do, is AliExpress have got their own protection. So as long as you're buying from a protected seller, which most of them will be, and also use PayPal, you've got two forms of fallback. So if you don't get your item, AliExpress can come in and sort things out, get your money back. Or if for some reason you buy from a seller which isn't AliExpress protected, which I don't think there's many, if any, you can always go to PayPal and tell them what's happened, and PayPal will generally side on the customer side rather than the retailer, so you should get your money back pretty quickly, in theory. Last Man Standing UK says hi, how you doing? Let's scroll down. Valley 100 says these TZM Interstellar V2 fans are brilliant. Pack of 3 reverse on Amazon UK, $23.99. Not bad. Mish Tech's in the house. How you doing, Mish? Or Amish, I should say. O'Reilly says, I think it's the shape of the ass end which needs to fit into my palm properly. Yeah, when it comes to mice, I kind of like various different shapes. So the MSI one I actually quite liked because it's quite flat overall. The swoop is kind of quite long. The hump's pretty much central. The ASUS one, the hump is more pronounced, but there's not so much towards the back. And I think I would have liked a little bit more support for the palm at the back, or a little bit more length on there. But saying that, regardless of how comfortable it feels, I play games better with this. So maybe comfort isn't everything, arguably. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Where's Poppy when you need her?
Oh, I forgot this mouse doesn't work on here. Stupid thing.
Hey, George.
Hello, George. Coco Bill says, I use a Tiger Claw Glip, so I got a Steel series from ages ago, G104, something like that. It was the cheapest of the Steel series, about €25. Nice. What's the matter?
Mixed one. Means it's glue with my leg.
I got a fast forward. Oh, better add. There you go. Rasher sent 5 Mike's Unboxing review to... I'll try that again. Rasher has gifted 5 Mike's Unboxing reviews and how-to memberships. So one has gone to Jason Woods, another one has gone to Roderick Kennedy, AC1 was also gifted a membership by Rasher, JJUK1 also gifted by Rasher, and Tobias A was also gifted a membership by Rasher. Thank you very much. Rasher, bless you and thank you, says Roderick later on in the chat. William Bodie says, did Ugly Bob change his name? No, he's on his Holly Bobs, so to speak. So he is not going to be in the streams, possibly for a couple of weeks. So I'm just going to get my drink. Got my old-fashioned chair back, the old dining chair. So I can sit a little bit more upright, which is better for me, allegedly. My neck's not hurting so much, actually.
Oh, you've got that chair. Right, let's go back up. Where did I get to? Michael Ellingham says, Corsair M65 Ultra wireless for me.
Not too bad. Not too bad at all. I quite like that one. Coca Bill says, I remember getting one called the G502 Hero or something. It broke within 3 months. Left click broke. George, yeah. What was the Logitech mouse that you bought? And you bought a couple of because they kept on breaking. Is that a G502?
G502, yeah.
Yeah, George had a couple of G502s. I think they all died. Did you have 3 in total? And it was like warranty replacements as well.
Only had 2.
Just 2, was it? Was that a warranty replacement, or did you buy another?
The second one was warranty replacement, but I didn't buy another one.
Right. Yeah. The G502, a lot of people have experienced problems with those. Zero Defects is an MX Master fan. Good stuff. Weddy Bob says, I love my G305 wireless. Only issue I found was the button clicks after a while become stiff and less responsive. But that is the beauty of actually this mouse. And also others that do it. There is others that do it. It's not a unique thing to ASUS. We've got the TechWare Pulse Elite, which basically does the same sort of thing. So you can just pop the switches out and replace them. And I think actually this one came with a couple of switches, possibly did it come with some in the box? I think it did. So how do I take this apart? I got to remember. Yeah, magnetic. So with that there's the switches there, and you can just pull them out. They're in little caddies, so you can swap them. So if the switches do get a little bit stiffer, or you just want to swap them out because you prefer something else, then you can do that. This is actually a really nice mouse, the TechWare Pulse Elite. Not too sure why I don't use that all the time, actually. Probably because I can't synchronize the RGB. I suppose that's quite a minor thing. I think it was a little bit creaky as well. No, dead solid. Don't know why I don't use that. Oh, I know, because the hex, it's got the mesh on there, the hexagonal mesh, which is great for airflow, but not great if you're someone like me who basically spends most of your life in front of the PC, eating, drinking, and dropping stuff. In which case, that just gets full of crap.
But it wouldn't be so bad, man, would it?
It's quite smooth, actually. Anyway, there you go. So yeah, it's not a unique thing, but I do like the fact that more manufacturers do seem to be coming around to the fact that for the more kind of enthusiast market, when it comes to mice and peripherals, we like to be able to change things. So whether it's changing out a switch on your keyboard, stabilizers, switches in your mouse, that sort of stuff, I think it's a really cool thing to be able to do. And you can completely transform the look and the feel, well, not so much the look, but the feel definitely and responsiveness of the mouse by changing out these switches, which is cool. Roderick says, ads don't bother me, can't afford bugger all anyway. Good on you. Ordinary Dude says, what are ads, lol? Actually, that's another thing. From, I think it's next week, possibly next Sunday, I think it is, YouTube are going guns blazing on ad blockers. So if you've got an ad blocker on, if it blocks an ad, it's going to take you to the end of the video, and it'll just finish the video. So I'm not too sure why they're doing that, but apparently they're going all out against ad blockers. So you have been warned. Time for a new browser, possibly. Although saying that, they're all Chromium based, so chances are if everyone deserts Google Chrome and they go back to Edge or something, it's just going to follow, so they'll end up doing the same thing. Toad says, I have premium, so no ads. Good for you. And Skystalker, I think, had premium as well. It's good for the stats. Thanks, boys. Matthew Day says, brief ad, but it was dealt with. Excellent. Jason says, off to bed. Thank you. Dutch Jan says, I have the Brave browser. I don't get any advertisements. Welly Bob says, I require wireless peripherals. Mouse and keyboard essential to me. I'm not so keen on a wireless keyboard. I will use one, but for a keyboard, especially because I like my RGB, having that drain the battery all the time I think would be a little bit too much. But I could possibly deal with it. I use this one. This is wireless, but this is only really because I'm using it on the stream. I don't use it for typing as such or for gaming or anything like that. So it's got no RGB to speak of, so it isn't a problem. This is a very utilitarian keyboard. Brasher says I watch YouTube. He's also got Premium as well. He says I watch YouTube 99% of the time, so YouTube Premium was a no-brainer. I'm not sure if I can actually claim that as a business expense, because it would make researching things a lot quicker.
5 seconds.
But some of the ads are quite long.
Yeah,
And actually, Amazon Video.
As soon as I said that, I thought that.
Anyone who's got Amazon Video or Amazon Prime Video and you haven't been coaxed into spending the extra for the ad-free version, I've noticed that first the ads were very, very discreet. So it was maybe like a 15 to 30 second advert, maybe one or two. So two 15-second adverts, or it was a very brief interruption. But I have found recently, I was watching something yesterday, and I'm sure the adverts were like 3 or 4 minutes. And it came up saying, first advert, 30 seconds, 1 of 4. And I was like, oh my God. And then they're just getting longer and longer. It's like, I might as well go and have a pee or go make a drink or something. It's ridiculous.
But you didn't.
I didn't.
Drink.
I didn't make a drink, no.
You sat and waited for me.
Matthew Day says, didn't even have brand names on cases back in the great days of the computer fairs. Oh yeah, the computer fairs, they were great. I used to drag Kath along to those all the time. And the one time that I didn't drag Kath along to a computer fair, it was a day where it was snowing, or it had snowed. And for some reason, I ended up out by Bristol Airport trying to get to Whitchurch.
Cindy and Jodie to it.
Yeah.
Or Cindy to it, wasn't it?
No, I didn't take anyone. I just went to get stuff for Cindy's brother.
But then you had to take it to her mum's house or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, just got completely lost. It's horrendous. I was getting lost in the snow without a sat-nav, because sat-navs weren't a thing then, without a map, and I was in some place and it said like Forestry Commission. I was like, where the hell am I? And also I was running out of fuel. I was like, oh no, this is the first day of my life. But I got home safely because I'm here. Viali says 100 says no ad here, ad blocker working. Rick says been YouTube Premium after a trial. You can't go back to ad infested YouTube after a trial. 4 years later, loving YouTube Premium. Where are we? That was Rasher, done that one. Nick Barnes says Prime adverts have been okay. It's YouTube that's been 90-second adverts. Sod that, turn off and restart the app. Yeah, before your video starts. YouTube is unwatchable with ads. I say I don't mind it. I suppose I'm one of those people where I look at it from a pragmatic point of view. And I understand as a content creator that that is the way that most of us get paid. Because we don't take sponsorships. We don't take handouts, bribe money, anything like that. So our income is from YouTube views. And that's kind of it. And also, obviously, the generosity of the viewer, which we are much appreciative of. But that is where we make our money. So I watch ads mainly because of the fact that I appreciate that other content creators are in a similar boat and they're just trying to make a living. Although, if it's something which I'm not interested in, I will quite happily skip the advert. But I will at least give it a chance. If it's something that I'm even marginally interested in, I will watch the advert just to help the creator. As long as it's not one of those crazy long Jaya adverts or something which goes on for about 45 minutes. And it's like, why is this an advert for 45 minutes? Why am I being targeted with this nonsense? Anyway, John 320 says I bought an ASRock B650 and 32 gigs of RAM, case and PSU, and I kind of regret it. Interesting. Tell us more, John. I'm intrigued. If you bought an ASRock B650 M, whichever it is, what's the cheap one? The HV2, V2, whatever it is, M.2. I regretted buying that one. It was cheap, but I regretted it. Telesto says I need to buy a small mouse for gaming. I prefer a cable, not batteries. I don't want any lights on it and not too expensive. That sounds like what Kath wants. She wants a small mouse with a cable and no lights on it. Don't you?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't have any of that. Can I interest you in Greta's ocean plastic mouse?
That can go in the bin.
That can go in the bin. Sorry, Bob. No offence.
Sorry, Alex. Nothing to do with that.
Inner Action says the new stuff Gigabyte has been making is fantastic. Yeah, I think I've had this conversation already on Discord. I've not been overly impressed with Gigabyte boards recently. The last one I built for Gigabyte was about a month, maybe 2 months ago for George's computer. He chose the board, he wanted that one because it had the right amount of USBs, etc. I was dubious about it. I didn't like the BIOS at all, but I have been told that Gigabyte have actually overhauled their BIOS now, and the settings, the layout is very different, and also they've made changes to their software. So I am considering getting another Gigabyte motherboard and taking another close look to see what it's like, look at the improvements. If they've made some improvements in the BIOS and also the motherboard software, then I'm all in, because I quite like Gigabyte boards in terms of their general pricing, their features and their quality. But the software for me was what let it down, and the fact that I went into the BIOS, and I'm someone who's had reasonable experience with BIOS, and I struggled to find my way around. So if I'm struggling, I can imagine what the more novice builder is going to be experiencing. It's probably not going to be good. Ortho Christios says, which Z790 board would you recommend for DaVinci editing? I think the Z790 Gaming Plus. Fantastic board. I love that. Very good price. Does everything I needed it to for Premiere. Yeah, it was a great board. And one of the least expensive ones. Nick Barr says, question, Mike, do you mean once selected YouTube videos playing, you receive more support? If we don't skip the ad and let the advert play? Yeah, well, the way the adverts work, if you skip an advert, we get money for the impression of you seeing the advert. If you watch part of it, we get more, depending on how long you've watched it for and interacted with it. If you actually have an advert come up on YouTube and it's something you are genuinely interested in, and you click on the link, like to find out more or visit site or whatever, if then you go on to make a purchase on that, we get like crazy money for what it is. Like the commission on that is excellent. But
we've been told.
We've been told. I think it must have happened. I think at some point we must have had somebody like click on an advert for a car and then go and buy a car online, because we had this really weird thing where we were getting sort of like £2 a day, £3 a day as income, and then all of a sudden there was this like massive spike for like £100, wasn't there? Do you remember that?
No.
Like back in the early days, there was like this really weird thing. It's like, well, someone's clicked on an advert.
I don't remember that.
It was a massive spike, and I was like, I wonder what it was they clicked on. We've got no idea because we don't get any telemetry data or anything from that. But yeah, it was like nothing, boom. It's like, whoa, what happened there? That was great.
That's a look back on that.
Mishtech says, I've been pushing management at work on these new Intel CPU specs. We sell a lot of high-end. I think we should at least give customers the choice of having Intel limits or unlocked. Yeah, that's something else I've been playing with actually this week, the Intel limits. It's a real mess. So you've got the Intel motherboard limits, you've got the Intel default limits, then you've also got Intel default performance limits, and then you've got Intel default extreme performance limits. And I redid my board, flashed it today, and I put it into, I think it was extreme performance, or is it Intel default? No, Intel default it was, I think. And my processor got like half the score it would normally get. It was literally completely hobbled. Horrendous. Very quiet. Very cool. But awful performance. So I switched it back to, I think, Extreme Performance or ASUS Let's Optimize, I think it was. Yeah, ASUS Optimized BIOS. And then it went back up to like 39,000 points in Cinebench, which is what it should be. Rick H says, I'm going back to MSI. Gigabyte BIOS is junk on lower boards. That's my kind of thinking on it. Although, like I've said, I have been told that they have updated them and they look different. So as long as your board's updated and there is a BIOS available for it, potentially that might be remedied now. So never say never. Skystalker says, I want to support the content creators, but I can't stand ads. Luckily, can afford $22 a month for the whole family. Makes sense with the kids using it too. Yeah, that's cool. Is that how much it is for YouTube Premium? I vaguely remember it being like $9.99 or something. Maybe it's more than that now.
It's $4.99.
I think it was $4.99 as an introductory price. Then it went up to $9.99 or $8.99. It's been steadily increasing, as all these things do. Viali says, just buy AMD, so much easier and less expensive. To be honest with you, if Intel doesn't pull it out the bag for the next generation of LGA 1851 socket with their new, whatever they're calling their new processors, if they're not fixing the limits and they're not fixing the power, then I think it's going to be a very, very difficult thing to try and sell someone on the proposition of an Intel motherboard and processor. Mishtech says, I'm desperate for Hardware Unboxed or Gamers Nexus to redo all CPU testing to show all Intel CPUs versus all AMD CPUs with these new limits in place. I'm sure we'd see a different story. I think they've shown the story that really AMD is the king for PC gaming at the moment in terms of processor wise. I think there's a few outliers where Intel does slightly better, but it's not the king anymore. Certainly with what I've seen anyway. And I think with these more increased restrictions, I think the difference is probably going to be more. But I think, again, the thing is, we need for Intel and the motherboard vendors to kind of come to a decision where it's like, you go into the BIOS and it's like, Intel defaults, ASUS defaults, Intel performance, ASUS performance, that kind of thing. So you've got like 4 choices, so you can choose between them. So that way then, when you're doing a review, you can actually turn around and say, right, this was done with the Intel performance, or Intel defaults, or motherboard defaults, and you know where you stand, whereas at the moment, it's literally all over the place. David Under says, my biggest click was 16,547 USD back on my gaming sites. Guy dropped over 8k on dodgy Texas Hold'em game. Australia government banned online gaming sites not long after that. Hashimira, I've pronounced that badly, I apologise. It says the i3 13100F is $67 on Amazon right now in the US. The trouble is with the 13100F, it's a viable processor for majority of games, but if you have to then pair it with a motherboard, some RAM, I suppose you could use DDR4, which makes it slightly more compelling. Maybe that's something you need to do, to take a look at a Micro ATX, say like an H410 motherboard with one of those processors, and see what we can get a bare bones PC going for. I'm sure it's going to be not far off 600 quid by the time you've got the graphics card and everything all in. Dutch Jan says, Intel cannot currently keep up with AMD at all without overloading the CPU. And I think that's only going to get worse as well with the 9000 series. Like I said earlier in the stream, it looks like they've reduced the TDP almost across the range for the 9000 series AMD processors. Actually quite excited. I would quite like a 16-core AMD AM5 processor. I don't need one, but I am getting to the point where I'm feeling a little bit hesitant about using Intel for my video editing rig. I am thinking I should go back to just being AMD through and through. But it's nice to have Intel for the kind of the contrast, especially for reviews and stuff, and for just general usage. I don't think there's such a gap now as well for video editing between Intel and AMD. I think the gap has closed. O'Reilly says, had an ad for CD keys. William Boney says, to be or not to be, I hope IBM comes back again. IBM comes back. God, that took me way too long. David says, Mike, 80,000 was what he lost, not 80 bucks. Yeah, I said 80k, as in 80,000. In a weird accent, update on AM5 stability. I would say, well, I probably don't use my AM5 PC as much as I should do. Like, that's my AM5 PC there, my Intel one's over there. And that one seems to be fine, although I have found, like today I turned it on, and normally it boots up in like no time at all. But for some reason today I turned it on and it took a little while doing memory training. And I've not touched it, not done anything to it. I swapped out the graphics card yesterday and turned it on and rebooted a couple of times. So I don't think it's that, but yeah, just I looked at it and the CPU light was on and the RAM light was on. And I was like, well, that should have booted up by now. What's going on? That was a little bit weird. But eventually it booted up without me having to turn it off or do anything. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird at times. In terms of stability, can't fault it. It does seem slow. Obviously, I'm comparing, because I've got my 13900K over there on a Z790 platform, and I've got a B650 here with a 7700. So they're completely different classes, but this PC does feel slower. Like noticeably, even just like using a mouse on the screen, it feels slower. But then this has got a 60 Hz panel. I've got 165 Hz panel there. I'm using my ASUS mouse over there, which is like zippy anyway. This one I'm using the MSI mouse, which is okay, but not as good. So there's a few different things which make it feel a little bit less snappy. But it doesn't do any weird micro stuttering, so there is that to it. Viali says, I built my nephew an AM5 system when they came out and he has had no problems at all. I think it's one of those things that it's a limited amount of people that have problems, and because we've got a Discord which is basically for technical support, we see the majority of it because obviously people are attracted to that. You don't get people coming into the Discord saying, I've built an AM5 system and it works perfectly. Because normally people would be like, oh, my system doesn't work. YouTube, oh, Discord, right, get some help. Excellent. So you get to see more of the bad side than you do the positives because people don't rave about something just working as it should do. Mish says, I spec'd up a 13100F PC on PC Part Picker just now, about 400 quid, excluding GPU. That's not that cheap, is it? 400 quid. So that's like if you add in a 6600, RX 6600, which is pretty much what you want to put in there. That's going to give you another 200 quid, so 600 quid, which is basically what I price up the AM5 systems for. Nick Barnes says it was Windows AI update delaying it. Oh God. David Andrews, AM5 to AM6 or AM5 Plus to overcome the AM5 problems. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what happens. There's various things they can do. A lot of the problems that we get with AM5 is down to CPU cooler mounting pressure. And like I've said before, because the LJ socket, the pins are, rather than being like straight up or straight down, they're kind of sideways, but they're also curled under themselves. So if you apply too much pressure, it just basically curls up and then moves across the pad, so it doesn't make a contact. So getting the right contact on there is really important, and we've noticed NZXT coolers predominantly and particularly, try to say both of those words together, NZXT coolers seem to exert too much pressure on the CPU. And of course, normally when you're installing, especially on AM4, because there's nothing to compress, because the pins have gone into the socket and it's a solid top, you get to a point where you can crank it down to get really good mounting pressure. But with any LGA, because you've got, basically you're sitting on like a floating grid of pins, which almost like a shock absorber, essentially. So if you put too much pressure on it, you just crush it. And that is what is happening, I think, to a lot of these systems where you're getting no post situations. I would say a good 7 or 8 times out of 10, taking the CPU out, putting it back in, remounting the cooler with minimal mounting pressure or less mounting pressure resolves the problem, which kind of proves what I'm saying. John320 says, does the stock cooler also give that problem? No, doesn't seem to. Stock cooler seems to be essentially designed perfectly, as you'd expect, because with the stock cooler, you're screwed into, rather than being like the clips which go over the plastic brackets, those are the more problematic ones. If you've got the ones where you keep the plastic brackets in place and you clip over and then tighten those up, those seem to be more problematic. If you've got one which attaches to the 4 points, which distributes the load a bit better, even better. If you go with the AM4 style cooler, like the stock cooler, that works really well. And we've just lost signal. Has the camera just turned itself off? Low battery. I gotta be a low battery. Right, I'm still here. I'm just gonna have to swap out a battery. Even though.
Why is it on battery?
Because it's always on battery.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
It's on battery, but it's charging as well.
Mine's caught up with you now.
Right, let's turn it off. There we go. A flat battery.
So we can't stream on mains.
It's because there's not enough output on that charger to charge the battery and for the camera to be on at the same time, it seems. There we go. The charger was on, but it seems to be it's depleting the battery faster than the charger can put back in. My fault. David O says, need a dummy battery, doohickey. I've actually got a battery eliminator, which I generally tend to use. But that was, there was a weird thing with that. If I use the battery eliminator and I don't have the HDMI cable plugged in as an additional ground, it puts real bad feedback into the microphone. So I thought, well, to avoid that, I'll just charge it on USB all the time.
Angel? Me? Yeah. I'm sorry, I can't leave.
So yeah, it is kind of plugged into them. There's I think it's only a 2 amp charger in the wall, so it's not giving out enough voltage to charge it and be used. So yeah, I do use the battery eliminators. I think it's still in here. No, it's not. No, I put it in there. I did have a battery eliminator on the camera, which is on the overhead as well, but I've taken that camera away. But yeah, because there's a couple of times where I've made a video, and because I was using the monitor for the computer, I didn't have the HDMI output plugged in to provide that additional earth, the battery eliminator was putting all kinds of weird humming into the audio. And I was like, no, I'm never doing that again. Viali says the Deepcool Mystique 360 is fantastic. No pump noise at all. David says, shout yourself a big USB PD charger. I think I've got one upstairs somewhere. CAF keeps on getting these deals on ShopSmart, and there was one where there was like 3 iPhone chargers with cables, and that is basically, I'm using the iPhone charger to charge the camera, which is obviously a bad idea. And normally it doesn't run this long, because normally when I'm recording in a day, it's kind of like 15 to 30 minute videos in one go, and like B-roll and stuff, it's a couple of seconds. Anyway. Rick H says, Intel have been doing LGA sockets forever. I've never had any problem, even with a contact frame. Yeah, I think that's why AMD have suffered, because it's their first time with an LGA type socket, at least for a mainstream desktop type setup. I think they've been using LGA in Threadripper for a lot longer. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Threadripper was LGA. No, I'm alright, thanks. Inward Accent says, my Galahad has a whine at 100%. Should I take it down to 70%? Yeah, if most AIOs, you don't really want the pump to be running at 100% all the time. Ideally, set it to like 70 to 80% and have a gradual curve. That should give better life as well. And also, when the CPU is not under such a load, you don't really want the water whizzing around as fast, because that actually has a negative effect, because the water doesn't spend the long enough time actually on the cold plate for it to absorb the heat, because it's going past so quickly. So you want the water to kind of be able to absorb the heat and pull it away. At least physics. Kieran's in the house, says, hey all, stream on in background whilst playing Power World. Nick Barnes says, Mike, what is the smallest micro ATX case you have reviewed? Wanted to build it, ITX, but motherboards scarce or too dear. Tall is okay, but small footprint preferred. I think it was the Zalman Z1, or is it the Zalman T11? I'm not sure if it's actually on the channel, whether or not we ever reviewed that. But there is a Zalman, I think it's a Zalman Z1 or Z11. That was probably the smallest micro ATX case I've ever used. There might be smaller now. I would say probably as well the GameMax Spark, the micro ATX version, that's quite small. I'm trying to think now. Yeah, I can't think. It probably would have been the Techware. Oh, what was it? There's a Techware micro ATX one. Techware Forge M2. That was quite small.
On that air fryer.
Oh, that was ITX.
Okay.
Bit smaller again. Telesto says, I bought an AMD Radeon RX 6600, £199 a couple of weeks ago. Which model did you get? Yustola Roll. I'm ordering a Intel Arc A750 on Monday. Kind of excited. Good for you. Nick Barnes says, I'll recall your review of Techware. Thanks, Mike. No problem. Right, let's have a look at my my keyboard. Now, some of you are going to get bored of this, and honestly, I don't care, because I like this keyboard a lot. I really do. Actually, I'll show you the inside of this. I said I was going to do that, so I'll do that first of all. So this mouse is pretty cool. So you can pull this off. I would have liked a bigger thing on there to be able to actually grasp it. So you pull out the battery, and then 2 screws in the back, which, to be fair, the screws don't do a lot. So you could just leave them out if you wanted to. They're stupid little screws as well. Oh, take me text off first. Yes, I should do that. Let's do that. And let's do the overhead camera so you see what I'm doing. You got stupid little pissant screws in here, but you don't really need to put them back in. So I'll put those there. So they're not in the way. Oh, for God's sake, what's going on with that now? Sorry about that. Device was sleeping. Why is everything against me today? Jesus. Right, anyway, so I've taken the 2 screws out of there, which makes actually this a lot easier. So then there is a little lip at the back, which you can open up. And you just lift this back piece up, and then kind of wiggle it from the front, because there's these 2 little ledges at the front which hold it in place. And then you can gain access to the switches. So then if you want to take out the switches and replace them with something else, you literally just pull the switch out and you can just grab another switch. So let me see if I've got some down here. I think I have. Oh God, that's hurting. So here I've got some Kale GM8s, 80 million clicks. I've got some Kale GM2s. And also I've got some Kale 70 million switches. So we'll take out both of the ROG switches. And let's put in the GM8s. These are really nice and clicky, which some people don't like, I understand. So 1 switch. 2 switches, so make sure they're firmly in place. Then all you got to do is line up that front bit again, wiggle it into place, snap that into place, and that is it. So you don't really have to put those screws back in if you don't want to. Put your battery back, magnetic top, and there we go. And we've got new switches.
Needs to be turned 180, Mike.
You what?
Top cam needs to be turned 180.
Can I do that? I think I can. Hang on. Hang on, caller. Image. More. Direction flip. What's that mean? There's a setting in here for this, I'm sure. Come on. I don't think there's a mode in here to do it, sorry. I thought there was. Actually, I can probably do it in there, can't I? Hotspot 4K. Transform. There you go. I did a thing.
Press your little button.
What button?
Put an applause one.
I don't know if I have.
Do your little.
Got one of those.
Mad dick.
Anyway, so there you go. That is how you swap out the switches. So it's pretty straightforward stuff. And well, actually, That whole thing's come off now. Actually, that's not too bad. We can do that. Would have been nicer if it was a slightly more elegant solution for removing the switches rather than just ripping it apart. But I guess it's better than having to melt the what's it called, the feet off, because quite often to take your mouse apart you have to actually take off the skate from the bottom, and if you're someone who's ever taken the feet off a mouse before, you'll know that it's almost impossible to get them to go back on flat and smooth ever again once you've done it once. Very, very rarely. So that's my ROG switches back in. Roger. And there we go. Good as new, he says. Let's I'm gonna put those switches, put those screws back in. Oh, this is frustrating. There we go. So maybe you do want to put the screws back in. So anyway, let's not everyone is going to want to swap the switches out on any kind of regular basis, I would have thought, but at least if one fails, or if you've just got a specific switch that you really, really like the feel of, then at least with this, you have that option. You don't have to get the soldering iron out. And at the moment, with the absolutely ludicrous price of this, you don't really pay for the privilege. Anyway, there we go. That's that done. So now we can have a look at the keyboard. Shut it to one side. So, ROG keyboard. I'm going to get a USB cable in it so I can power that up. And if I can't find... that's the USB cable I was looking for the other day. That goes with that one. I've bought so many USB cables recently, it's not even funny. I still can't find one that I actually want to use. Hang on. I'll be there. I'll be there now. In a minute. Oh. Roof. Oh. Right, I suppose I should show you the packaging first of all. Oop. So this is the ROG Strix Scope 2 mechanical gaming keyboard, or saying pre-lube switches, which is always nice. PBT double shot keycaps, and also it's using their new ROG Snow NX switches. Mechanical refined linear, and this is the QWERTY UK English, because that is extremely important. And it comes with a wrist rest if you want to use a wrist rest. Some people prefer that. I personally don't, but maybe you do. So yeah, pre-lubed ROG stabilizers and switches. You also got 3 tilt positions, normal sort of stuff. You've got a choice of this. You can either have the NX Snow switch or the Storm switch. So refined clicky or refined linear. I went with the linear. I prefer a linear keyboard. It just has a bit more of a kind of a thock to it without having that click as well. It's got sound dampening foam, LED indicators and all that kind of stuff. You get a general idea. It comes with nice cables, again wrist rest, which I'm not using because I don't really like wrist rests. I'm going to plug in this USB cable and I will show you it lit up and show you some of the functions, which there are numerous. Let's find a USB port. There we go. This would be upsetting for the MSI motherboard now to plug in a ASUS keyboard. So USB Type-C, detachable cable, which you kind of expect, I guess, really at this sort of level. Price-wise, this is about £100 at the moment in the UK, which I think is a very reasonable price, personally. I don't know what you think. The RGB effects, I think, again, very, very nice. The shine-through keycaps are excellent. And let's see if I can zoom in. There you go. So lots of RGB, as you can see. The keycaps are very bright and very legible. The only thing I would say as a slight detraction from that, because ASUS have to make keyboards for all around the world, the other functions, like the secondary and tertiary functions on the keys, I would have loved for those to be shined through as well, because in slightly darker environments, if I'm typing something and I'm trying to find the pound sign or the dollar sign, or maybe brackets because I'm doing a smiley, I find those a little bit more difficult to find first time. That's just being completely honest, so that's my thoughts on it. Keyboard sound, in terms of the noise, I'll try and be quiet so you can actually hear it. I think it's got a really, really nice focky sound to it. Sounds premium. The keycaps are PBT double shot, like I said, and you can remove them should you wish to, as you can see. So it's got actually quite a nice stem and all that kind of stuff in there, which is very nice. Double shot keycaps, quite a shallow keycap as well. And looking at the actual switch, they've actually got the MX stem, but then there's an additional, actually you're not going to be able to see that because the RGB. Actually, there's a cool trick I can show you. So this button here, you can choose different functions. So at the moment, it's set for volume. Press it again, media controls. Press it again, brightness. So you can dim the keyboard down. So now, hopefully, you can see that switch, and you can see there's like an outer section as well. So not only have you got the MX stem, you've also got a support box around the outside of it as well. So it's like really solid, really doesn't give you any of that wiggling. And you can see it's got the ROG Snow NX switches in there. Downside is they don't appear to be swappable that I can see. I'm pretty sure they're not. I'm almost 100% sure they are soldered in. I don't really want to try and rip one out just to prove a point, but yeah, they are soldered in, so they are in there for good, unless you break one, in which case you could resolder it. But it's really nice. There's almost no wiggle to it, and with the space bar, the stabilizer is excellent. Like, no matter where you press it, it's extremely equal all the way along. You can see that. There's like no wiggle to it at all. Very nice. Very nice indeed. And it's actually quite a nice weight to it as well. It's plastic back with the ROG logo and all that kind of stuff. And you've got those adjustable feet. So 2 heights, depending on what you want. You've got rubber dampeners and all that kind of stuff. But overall, I love it. I really do. I'm very fussy when it comes to keyboards. Actually, just turn the brightness back up. Getting volume you can do. Nick Barnes, do you think they will ever illuminate the second symbols on each cap? Just realised I can't see what mine are saying. Yeah, that is the trouble. If I would love it if when you press shift, the second row would illuminate, but that's not going to be a thing, I don't think. The trouble is, again, like I said, because there's so many different caps made for different countries and all those layouts being different, it's just a cost cutting thing, just to print those extra bits on rather than actually have them carved out, I think. For some people, I guess it's probably not going to be the end of the world, and they have actually printed on what each one of the hotkeys are, like the alternate functions on the front. So on here, if you want to, you can choose the modes and the light. So if you do function mode, you can go through and change your various modes, and you can do brightness on there as well. Different color cycles, reactives. Per key. Rain effect. I quite like that. Although, it's nice to be able to see all the keys. So yeah, It's a nice keyboard. I like it. They are lit on my ASUS TUF K7 mic. Are they? I might have to borrow the top keys. Yeah, because I'm looking on my MSI one now, and those are actually lit as well. But it's got a much smaller font. So yeah, you never know. I might have to do that. I might have to steal those top row keycaps from somewhere. Just to have a bit of shine through. But other than that, this is, I would say, pretty much my perfect keyboard. Yes. That's it. Go back to the rainbow puke, but yeah, I just love it. I think the sound of the keys type in. It's just really, really nice. And again, being able to volume control for me is something which I use very often. Press it down, you've got the mute button, and that cycles through the various options, which you can actually program as well, the extra bits in Armory Crate if you wanted to. But yeah, overall, I am very, very pleased with it. I think they've done a good job, and for about £100, which is what it is, it's pretty cool. I like it. Thing is with these types of things, it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, is it? You can't please everybody all of the time. So we don't try. Anyway. Let's go back to, see if we can get it to work. Main camera. Is that working now? Oh, for fuck's sake. Has that turned itself off again?
Yeah, I must have done.
How can that not be getting enough juice? Oh, balls.
Yeah, got the plug socket on.
No. Worse. I just plugged in the USB into the USB charger bit on the end. How can that? Oh, it's not even plugged in. That's why.
I wondered why. That's why I said, isn't it meant to be plugged in?
Oh
You
dear.
said no, it never is.
Right, we should have a picture shortly. No battery power remains. We'll have to go for a third battery. Is that going to work now? No battery power. Right, I'm going to grab another battery. You put you back on the, the overhead. Oh man. I think I have got another battery. Yeah, the battery backup. I say normally it does work for a good few hours while I'm pissing around all day. USB power is supported from connected device. Please turn off the power. Yeah, whatever. That's working. Right, I need to charge those batteries up.
Put them with your mics.
Yeah, which I also forget. There we go. We're back. Hopefully we're back. We are back. Good stuff. Yeah, that's my fault. The reason why the battery went is because we were literally on battery. The USB charger was plugged into the wall socket, but it wasn't plugged into the camera. Rookie mistake, so that's why it didn't work. Arali says, have the overhead on an adjustable boom arm so you can lower it and point it forward. Funnily enough, it is actually on an adjustable boom arm, which I will try and show you. So there you go. It is on a boom arm, which is crudely attached to the ceiling via a piece of skirting board, which I found in the street.
Oh, talking about finding in the street.
Yeah, very much like the other thing we got there. So it is actually on a boom, but it's because the boom isn't long enough, it would be hard to move that around. But yeah, I get the idea. Nick Barr says BBC training showing through. Luckily, I wasn't in the camera department. So I wondered why. I'm thinking to myself, why have both batteries gone flat that quickly? That doesn't make any sense at all. But If it was running purely on battery power, that does make a lot of sense, because they've probably never been charged properly. Well, one of them has. So yeah, that'll be working fine now. Coco Bill says the important thing is the keyboard to be able to set different colors per key, because that way we can paint WSAD red, for example, and other important keys we often tend to miss. Good stuff.
I'd be lucky if I even had letters on my key. You know?
Telesto says one thing, ASRock's RX 6600 I bought when I play 7 Days to Die, the screen flickers all the time when the game is loaded. All other games are fine. I'm not too sure why that'd be. I'm not too sure what game engine 7 Days to Die is actually on. So I don't know the answer, but if anyone else has the answer to that, feel free to chime in. O'Reilly says, well, are you doing the proper task of trying to make the battery lifespan longer, full discharge and charge? I don't think that works with lithium-ion batteries. I think they're actually better if you don't fully discharge them. I think, and if you don't fully charge them either. So only charge them up to about 80% or so and use them down to a bit lower. Apparently that is the better thing to do. But I'm not entirely sure. I don't really care about it because the camera batteries are like 10 quid each or something. So if I need another camera battery, I'll just buy one. And I've actually got 3 anyway. So like 2 of them came, I think one came with the camera, one came with another camera, which is similar. And I got another one as part of a bundle deal. So I'm not really too bothered about that. Zero Defect says, I think if you do one full cycle to calibrate it. Yeah, I'm not too sure if that does work. I know that like nickel cadmium batteries used to be, they used to love that. Used to like charge them right up and then take them right down as far as they go. Even like connect up a bulb or something just to get all the power out of it, then fully charge it, and it would extend the life of it. But I don't think lithium ion actually do that. But I could be wrong. I don't really know the answer. Let's plug my keyboard back in. Oh, I can smell my tea. Beetroot. I got beetroot and strawberry. No,
That's beetroot, I think.
That's beetroot berry, isn't it?
I thought it was beetroot burst.
Beetroot burst. Didn't say. Beetroot burst.
Cheers, everybody.
Still no tea and coffee.
Or sugar.
Or sugar. Painful.
Isn't that painful? What'd you have for tea?
What do I have for tea? I had ham, eggs, and potatoes. Potatoes. Was that minorly racist, saying it like that? I don't think it is it? Anyway, the Irish don't care, nerve sound. I've also got my PC here, which won't sell. I say it won't sell. I've not tried to sell it yet. I actually listed it today. You can have a look at the PC, tell me what you think of it. And tell me what you would change. And I will take off the reflecto. Is that visible? Yeah, kind of. So there is the PC, which I am currently in the process of trying to sell. So Techwear VXN case, and I've basically gutted all the Techwear fans that were inside of this thing, swapped out the fans. So now we're using the Thermaltake CT120 fans. So we've got 3 in the top, 1 at the back, and 2 here is intake. So it's a predominantly negative pressure. We've got this grill on the front, or bottom rather, for taking in all the airflow. The graphics card is the RX 6800 from XFX. That's the 319 Swift edition. RAM is DDR5, so that is the Corsair Pro OC. CL36 6000 The cooler, you've probably seen this in the video this week. This is the APNX, the AP1-V ARGB. The motherboard, you've probably seen that video as well. That's the MSI B650 Gaming Plus Wi-Fi. So nice motherboard, nice setup. Actually looks pretty cool in there. The power supply, sorry, the M.2 drive is the one thing which is a little bit not great. It's a Fitquat FN501. It's fine. It's absolutely fine. You don't need a much faster drive than that. It would be nice, but it hasn't got it, so.
Is that the case you bent?
Yes. I think it is.
Was it?
No.
That was the thermal tape one.
I think that was the thermal tape one I bent. The one that's up there. And in the back here, I'm actually quite pleased with how this has turned out, to be honest. I don't really want to sell it, but I need to move stuff on. And otherwise I'll just end up hoarding it all up in the loft. Then I've got to do something about it all in the loft. So we've got a Thermalright fan controller hub, which is held on with nano tape, so that's never going to move. Which is a shame actually, because I quite want to take that out and swap it out for a different one. But anyway, so Thermalright fan hub for the RGB and also for the fans. You see you've got thermal tape fans there. Power supply, this is a Corsair HX850. So that's an 850 watt platinum. And that's fitted in there really nicely. The cable management I think is pretty much on point. It's pretty tidy, pretty neat. That is a little bit squiff. But nano tape is super strong, so that's not really going to change. I should have put it with the Thermalright logo on the other way, and I don't think that comes off very easily. But anyway, you're never going to see much inside there, but yeah, it's a nice little PC. And on the back, so in terms of outputs and stuff, so you've got Wi-Fi built in, you've got Bluetooth, got obviously all your outputs there, audio, 8 USBs in total, which is pretty cool. 2.5 gig LAN, HDMI and display ports. Super rock solid power supply switch, because it is a Corsair HX850.
GPU needs a anti-sag bracket.
The GPU does need an anti-sag. I don't know where I put that bloody thing actually. There is an anti-sag bracket here somewhere, but I cannot remember for the life of me where I actually put it. Actually, there it is. I bet it's too big. I need to make some custom design thing going in there, like a pen or something. Yeah. I need to get some sort of bracket in there just to prop that up a little bit. I think it's holding okay. It's not too bad. I think the camera angle makes it look worse than what it actually is. But I think what I might do is try and get a little white cylindrical tube. Actually, I'll get one at work tomorrow. The till rolls, they got those white cylindrical tubes in. That'll do. That'll keep that held up. Or I'll get a pen. I think actually if I get a Bic pen, take out the insert and just use the plastic, I can just put the plastic in there. That'll work. But yeah, overall, it's I think it's quite a nice little PC. The cable management is pretty good. It's reasonable. And it's a Ryzen 7 7700, so it's quite a powerful PC. And the 6800 is a 16 gig card, so again, it's quite powerful. If you were to buy all the individual components individually, you'd be looking at somewhere in the region of about 1100 to 1150 quid. And I've listed this today on Facebook Marketplace for £1,000, expecting to get knocked down. So I think I need to clear around about 9 to 950 to actually make it so I don't lose money on it. I've been fortunate that some of the items in here have been either gifted or are review samples. So that is actually pretty helpful. But yeah, it's quite a nice little PC. At least I think it is anyway. You can tell me what you think, and I will take that on board. Alternatively, I could have put in there the I've got an RTX 3070, which might be a better option in there. And also I've got a white cable for it, so I could put that in. Because the thing is, this cost me about nearly 400 quid, which I'm never going to get that back for it. But I would like to see about 3 back for it, if possible. I think an RX 6800, 16 gig, 300 quid. I think it's a reasonably fair price if you're going to sell it on its own. Yeah, let me think. I think the RX 370 might be the better fit in there. But I'll see what happens over the weekend. See if we get any offers. If we do, fantastico. If not, I will take a look at it over the week and see what happens. And actually, I'm going to put that away. So let me know if there's any questions in the chat, Kath, and I will answer those while I'm quickly putting this away. Might as well kill. Who said that?
Coco Bill.
Coco Bill, thank you.
It does look quite nice. I think a black case would sell better.
Yeah, you might be right actually. I would prefer the black version of this. When I actually asked for review samples, they said which colour did you want, and I should have went for the black. They offered the white. Most manufacturers now, they keep on sending out white cases because they look better on camera generally when they're empty. But I'm missing the old school black cases really. Yeah. Yeah, stick it all inside of an Antec P160. That's what we're talking about.
I just the 3070 compared to the 6800.
I would say that the 6800 is probably the faster, but Nvidia cards, being Nvidia cards, are more likely to sell on a PC because Nvidia have the basic market share and the mindset. Like, if you want a powerful graphics card, you think Nvidia. If you want a cheap graphics card, you think AMD. Now, as harsh as that reality might sound, it kind of is true.
Mike.
Hi.
Alex, good evening from Greece.
Good evening.
Thanks for all reviews. I have 2 PC builds in both for me and my son. Your opinion matters.
Thank you very much. That's very kind, very kind of you to say.
Is that what it meant?
Don't know. Hopefully. My opinion matters. You'll tell that to my wife. Sorry, packing things away here. So what do you think of the keyboard and the mouse, the ASUS stuff? Do you think that was a stupid idea, or do you think that was good? I love this mouse. I genuinely do. I'm so pleased with the mouse. The keyboard I am also very pleased with, but it did cost me I think it's £103, which, considering how often I use it more than I use pretty much most things in the house, including the toilet. So it didn't cost me as much as the toilet. Although saying that, my toilet was quite cheap and it cost I think £1.79. Yes, Kath?
What is the best GPU for a 12100F? Looking at RX 6600.
Yeah, I think the RX 6600 compared with the 12100F, good choice. Yep, I think that's not really anything else you can choose. Zero defects, this keyboard looks nice. Thank you very much. Viali says ROG stuff is brilliant, so good and reliable. David Under says arguing with a woman is like software agreements. In the end, you just click I agree. Anything for a quiet life. Aletta says
You're the miserable bugger.
I am. Aletta says my AMD GPU is pretty powerful. I'm not saying they're not powerful, it's just they're not as powerful. They are not holding the crown for the fastest cards, sadly. And actually, funny, on Facebook, there's a group in which is 7800 XT, 7900 XT, and XTX and all that. Basically, the higher end AMD tier graphics cards. There's like a group, and almost every single one, they're like, oh, I just done a benchmark, my system, blah, blah, this is the score I got. And then a couple of days later, they're like, I keep on getting these weird crashes. It's like, welcome to AMD. That's going to upset some people, but it is true. AMD drivers have been known to be notorious pains in the butt. But they're trying. They're making an attempt, so... O'Reilly says, I could be tempted to look at the range of items so I have my peripheral ARGB and ecosystem. Yeah, because you're on a ASUS motherboard, O'Reilly? Am I right in thinking? I seem to think you're on an ASUS Tough board. Sky says, comparing a keyboard to a toilet is new. It was. It came to my come into my head. O'Reilly says my ARGB systems are Lianli Connect, IQ, ASUS, Logitech. Far too many different bits of software. Sadly, Logitech does not plug into IQ. Yeah, that is. I've really hoped that Microsoft's amalgamation of all the RGBs was going to be better than what it is, but it's turned out to be somewhat of a damp squib, a bit like our British spring and summer.
Still wearing our summer winter coats.
We are still wearing our summer winter coats outside. And I actually, yes, well, this week I've been wearing my winter coat. Now my winter coat is the waterproof padded one. My summer winter coat is just a hoodie, which is warm.
No, it's still coat.
It's still a coat, really.
It was your old winter coat.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so Riley's on the ASUS Tough B550 plus Wi-Fi. You can actually get some nice Tough branded ASUS stuff as well. The keyboard is the one thing which I struggled with, because the Tough M4 mouse is excellent. I really like that one. And the M3 was really good as well. But the keyboards, I've got the Tough, is it the K1 or K3 that I've got, that I reviewed ages ago. They're like really expensive, but not really that good. But I think the K7 might be the mechanical version. I'm not too sure. Toe says, I'm interested in winning the lottery. You wouldn't know what to do with it, other than subscribe to Mike's Unboxing and become a member and Patreon. Alexa says, I've never had an issue with AMD drivers. Guess I'm just lucky. Lol, I hate Nvidia drivers and software. Nvidia drivers are pretty awful, and the I must admit actually the AMD Adrenaline software is pretty good. There's a lot of stuff in there that you can do, and it's quite nice. It's a nice interface, quite cohesive. Whereas the Nvidia one is awful, and the GeForce experience isn't great either. Zero Defect says Battle Mage I hope is good. It would be nice for Intel to bring it to them, but I can't see it happening, I don't think. John David Sullivan says, I've never had an issue with AMD drivers either. You are very, very lucky. I'm actually quite pleased that AMD drivers are as bad as they are, because some of the higher viewed videos on the channel are due to AMD drivers not working and how to fix it. So it's kind of good for me. Especially the AMD Error 41 graphics card driver. That's horrendous. And some of the new chipset driver errors are a bit of a pain. But they'll get there. And the thing is, ultimately, you're paying less money. You're getting a cheaper processor, generally buying a cheaper motherboard, and you're definitely getting a cheaper graphics card. So it's kind of, you've got to take it rough with the smooth. If you get problems with it, that is why you pay less money. Although, arguably, Nvidia do have their share of troubles. But if you look at the overall graphics card market, where Nvidia probably has at least, I would say, probably a good 75% of the share, it's not equal across the two in terms of problems, especially like even in our Discord, you see more AMD problems than we do with Nvidia, even though the Nvidia user base is massive. O'Reilly says also, I've not had many issues with AMD drivers breaking. It's not as common as it used to be. I think it was the Crimson drivers which were really bad. But the recent Adrenaline ones, they are better. Not perfect, but better. But then you never get perfect. Alexa says, I've missed over half the show. Thanks, pain meds. Well, hopefully you're healing up now and getting ready for your other needs to be done.
No.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something then. I thought Kath was asking a question, but she stretched. Viali says, never had a problem with AMD drivers or chipset drivers. I think a lot is to do with the build. Definitely, software conflicts, I think, is getting it right early on. I think a lot of people get to the point where rather than letting Windows Update do its thing and then start installing all your drivers and stuff after, there's too many people that just go straight in and they're like, right, AMD graphics driver, quickly get that in there, quickly install Steam, and all the time Windows is in the background doing other stuff. And I think that's where AMD's problem lies, is their driver possibly doesn't have the kind of authority to override Windows settings, and Windows overrides the drivers, causing corruption. I would argue that's more what the problem is. But anyway, whatever. My only thing is with, if it wasn't for the fact that AMD wasn't that good for video editing, I would probably use an AMD video card most of the time. But Nvidia does seem to do video editing and more kind of studio-based stuff a better job altogether. But for gaming, it's cool. O'Reilly says, tough gaming K1 keyboard looks nice. I don't think it's mechanical though. No, I think that is what I've got here. Somewhere. Is that a K1? Yeah, tough gaming K1. No, it's not mechanical, it's a membrane. It's not bad, but it's, if you've used a mechanical keyboard, going for this is horrible. If this was mechanical, it would be perfect, because it's got the rotary dial for the volume, which I like. It's got a nice layout, decent RGB, nice tough branding on there, but membrane keys are not really ideal if you've been used to mechanical switches. It takes a long time to get used to them again. And a tough M5 mouse. Yeah, they're pretty cool. The M4 I like. The M4 Air as well. The wireless version, that's pretty nice. Right, let's have a look at the poll. So currently the poll is, actually, if you take into account not buying and not interested, we've got 25% of people are not interested, got 20% not buying, so that's 44%, and then you've got 56%, of which 26% say yes, they're waiting until after Computex, and 30% are saying no, they're not waiting. So not really any real decisive outcome there, other than almost half of the viewers are either not buying or not interested, which is a little bit sad. But then there isn't anything really on the market which is massively compelling. But hopefully the 9000 series is going to be a little bit of a shake-up. I hope it is, because I mean Intel have got to start doing their thing as well. Dutch Jan says, question Mike, what do you think about Windows recall? I think it's possibly one of the worst ideas they've ever had. But, yeah, I think it's always the way that there's big companies and they get to these places, and they make a decision, and you wonder to yourself, like, who in the actual meetings at any point didn't put their hand up and say, I think this is a really bad idea? And it doesn't take a genius to work out why it's a bad idea. Which then leaves you with the theory of, well, if, like, these people who make software and make these decisions, they're not stupid. Clearly they're not stupid. Yes, they may be a little bit lacking thought, but they're not stupid. So most of the people who work for software companies like Microsoft and programmers, they've got a reasonable idea of how things work and how vulnerable computers can be and how they can be used nefariously. So to actually put something into a computer that can make it basically a keylogger and a screen recorder, it baffles me. So either somebody somewhere wants it integrated into Windows so they can monitor things, such as like shiny tinfoil hat stuff here, but the CIA, the NSA, whatever, the spy agencies want to know what you're doing and have a backdoor, which they probably do. They probably do now. But this would possibly make it easier for them. That's the only reason why I could see that this would actually get past the planning and the implementation stage, because it's just such a bad idea. It's literally like having someone with a webcam looking at your screen and watching your activity and logging your keystrokes.
It's like a peeping Tom asking to put a camera in your bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like a peeping.
Anyway,
so it's a peeping Tom saying, "Can I put a webcam in your bathroom?"
Because I'm looking anyway.
Yeah.
I might as well just have a better picture.
These binoculars from the other side of the road are useless. So can I put a webcam in? Yeah, it's just. Viali says, unless you're going to buy a new AI PC system, you won't have it. That, I think, will change. I don't think it will be just AI systems. I think they'll say that to begin with, because they want to have it as like one of those cool new features that only AI processors can use. But I think they want it to be more widespread than that. I think it's a bad idea. So yeah, I think I think it's a bad idea. I think most people realise it's a bad idea, and I'm guessing the software developers and designers and any security analysts that work at Microsoft would have immediately flagged it up as a potential security risk, because even if the data is held on your PC, if you're backing up your PC to the cloud using OneDrive, your PC is their PC. And yes, it may be encrypted or whatever, but clearly people who make encryption keys know how to decrypt them. It's not rocket science. It's just a numbers game. So yeah, I think it's a stupid idea. It's had a lot of negativity in the computer press, and it will no doubt have, like, even like we go to a local shop and there's some people we know there, and some of the people there that we talk to, they're retired elderly people. How old Bob?
Could be in his 80s, aren't he?
Guy's in his 80s, and we chat to him, and we were talking about computer stuff for some reason or other, and he said, "Oh, I've got this new thing on my computer in the corner of the taskbar. There's some AI thing, and I don't want it there. I want to get rid of it. How can I get rid of it?" So if there's like an 80-year-old gentleman who doesn't want Copilot on his PC, which is actually minimally intrusive.
He's already tried several things.
Yeah.
It's not like he hadn't.
And he'd actually made a concerted effort to try and remove this thing. So imagine what it'd be like if he knew what recall was that would potentially be coming into his PC. I think he would possibly keel over. It's just, yeah, it's nuts. I guess it's one of those things, yes, you can turn it off. But you know what it's like? Like, I'm someone who uses a PC on a regular basis, and I'm guessing most of you that are watching this, you're computer enthusiasts, and you use a computer, and you pretty much know your way around. So you kind of listen to the news, you watch YouTube channels. So if something comes out which is potentially bad or something you can disable, you're going to probably watch a video and it'll be one of the first things you do, that you'll disable it. But you can guarantee there's going to be at least 80% of the installed user base which have got no idea, and probably someone's just bought them a PC, they've got it, Windows Updates has done it, it's all back on, blah blah blah, and there's their computer quite happily running Recall in the background. They've got no idea whatsoever. And that is going to be what most people are going to be in that boat. For the people that are slightly more educated and like to tweak their PCs and systems, like again you and I, we're fine with it because at least we know about it. So we'll be like, right, we'll just disable it, or we'll do our attempt to disable it, or we might not have to have it because we don't have a sufficiently new or powerful PC. So that's fine. But there's going to be a lot of people that don't know, and it is certainly, I would argue, is going to be it's a vulnerability for a start, because like anything on your computer which is saved which shows information is a vulnerability regardless of what it is. But now that external hackers and people like that, nefarious actors, they've actually got a target now. So if they just want to phish your data, they just need to go to the recall files rather than searching around looking for dodgy file names or saved password this or whatever it is. It doesn't matter because they'll just go to recall and it'll all be there. Unbelievable. Nick Barnes says, Mike, have you already done a tutorial on preventing upgrades for Windows 11? I kind of have to some extent, but not in any real great depth, I think. I think I might have done years and years ago to stop Windows 10 becoming 11. But I don't think I've done one to stop Windows 11 becoming H2, 24H2. I might have skirted around it previously. I might do that video again. You can just turn off Windows updates, but then that's a kind of a double-edged sword. It's like, I don't know, it's difficult to explain. There's a lot of positives in Windows updates, and I'd say arguably more than, it outweighs the negatives, put it that way. Telesto, yes, you are dreaming. An Nvidia GPU, 2 slots and 16 gigs of VRAM for 500 quid. You never know. Duke Man says, better late than never. How you doing? David Under says it needs a selectable update where you can specify the type of updates. I think actually that would be a good idea to have an option or some flag somewhere.
User friendly and nice.
Yeah, so you could have it so that it says Windows updates are available, and you could also go through and uncheck them. So at the moment you just get a list. It'd be quite nice if you could just have a tick box and like optional ones. Security ones, I guess that'd be fine because you could just have those. So you have to have those mandatory updates. But to have, they kind of did do that a little bit. There is an option in Windows somewhere where you can choose whether you only have security updates and hotfixes rather than feature updates. That has been around. But yeah, I think they just need a bit more transparency and just to think about what they're doing a little bit more. Because the last thing they want to do is alienate all computer users, because they'll just start using other platforms. Which is unlikely, but there's only so much people to take before they want something different, as we all know. Right, I think that is going to be pretty much it. I think we've exhausted the comments and also the what's going on. But thank you all for your questions, much appreciated. Obviously, the Nvidia keynote is going to be tomorrow morning, about 11:30 UK time. So I will try and listen to it. I will be working in the shop tomorrow, so I may not be able to, but I'll do what I can. If there's anything interesting, we may well report on it. Obviously, we can talk about it in the Discord, which I'll put some links in, just in case you haven't joined already. Of course, this coming week, there's going to be lots of coverage from Computex. hopefully some exciting stuff. So we'll try and do some bits and pieces on that, maybe incorporate it into next week's stream, go over all the things of the week and what you liked, what you didn't like, what you're looking forward to, all that kind of usual stuff. So that'll be pretty good. Yeah, I think that's going to wrap things up. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video, the stream even. If you have, smash the like button if you haven't already. Come on, smash the like button. Surely you should have done that by now. Where's the likes activity on there? I can't see what it's blanked out. Yeah, smash the like button. If you're new here, hit subscribe, chime icon, all that kind of usual stuff. If you want to chat more with a growing community of like-minded individuals, head over to the Discord. It's very friendly there. In fact, I don't think there's anybody who's particularly unfriendly or unhelpful. There have been a couple over the years, but at the moment, I don't think there's anybody who is a little bit obnoxious, which is good. It's rare these days to find a Discord where there is a pretty kind of level playing field. It's pretty nice. Anyway, thanks for all the super chats. Thanks for your comments, questions, all that kind of stuff. Donations. Memberships and all that other stuff. And yeah, we will see you next Saturday. So I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews Now too. And hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching. Oh, I should have had my button ready. Night, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you next week after Computex. Bye. Say bye, Calf.